MJ, I am home. What a long day in the office it was. Let's see what Jonah's cooking up for us today, shall we? Well, this is looking like something I'm gonna have to get to at some point in time. Looks like my work's not quite done yet. Huh? What? I plagiarized? Oh! Well, that was fun while it lasted. Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and you may have heard of a little thing called games media plagiarism, not too sure. But anyway, there's been a lot of discussion on the Filip Miucin debacle. It's very obvious that he used everyone around him as stepping stones and pretty much was morally bankrupt during his explanation video, we'll call it. So I wanted to focus on another aspect of the issue, one of the primary victims in this case. And no, I'm not talking about IGN, who's doing a fantastic job with this PR nightmare. I'm talking about the game itself, Dead Cells, which was the spark to this fire. Now I know initially some people will go, Matty, if this controversy doesn't happen, Dead Cells doesn't really get on the map whatsoever. There is some truth to that, but I don't want to speak for the game devs. I do imagine though that if you've worked years and years and years on something and you hand out a review code to the most popular press outlet there, you probably don't expect to get mixed up in a whirlwind of plagiarism, and pretty much you're the punchline game for any time that title is brought up. Because what sucks is that Dead Cells is a fantastic game, and that's exactly what I want to talk about today. Not that it hasn't received its praises, but I just want to emphasize that fact that don't let this just be a conversation piece. This is a game that really deserves your attention. Dead Cells is incredibly fast-paced. Locomotion is the name of the game. There are timed doors which reward your speed for getting through levels. Combat is slick with dodge rolls that have to be timed because when you dodge roll, there are iframes which keep you invincible for a short period of time. Or maybe you're more along the lines of shield hugging and parrying, which is something I personally like to do, I'm not gonna lie. This feeds into the gameplay loop of every unique run, building your character a different way. For me, I've always taken the route now because I love parrying, because I usually have equipment that will stun people when I do parry, and on top of that, I invest in my cells, which are pretty much what we'll call souls from Dark Souls, that enemies drop into a mutation, which allows me to gain health back anytime I parry. So now the game is rewarding me not only for being slick, but being skillful in a certain area and devoting myself to a type of play style, which is something that is not really heard of much in video games nowadays. But this is a game where each run feels different because there are also stats you pick up which fuel your brutality, tactics, and survival. And then there are items in the game that feed off of that. Tactics are more of the traps, like you can put down a contraption that actually shoots out saw blades at your enemy and continuously does bleeding damage. Or you can have different types of grenades like cryo nades or incendiary nades. Then there's the brutality roll, which has a slew of really cool weapons like twin daggers that have a special crit attack for every third strike, or a standard sword which is quick for slashing versus maybe a blood sword which slashes a little bit slower but does occasional bleeding damage, or the survival route, which is usually defensive items like those shields I was talking about. So you can be skillful and set up traps for your enemies by investing in your brutality and tactics tree, or maybe you're like me and you want to do some damage but more so protect yourself because you're not too confident yet in your ability to dodge and keep up with the action going on. This game is tough. It will make you feel sad when you lose tons of cells, but it's just always calling my name. I do have one regret. I did pick it up on the PS4. I wish I picked it up on the Switch because it's definitely one of those pick up, give it a couple runs, put it down type of game. But on the PS4, I'm still gonna play it till completion because I am just obsessed with beating any single game I pick up. The soundtrack also needs to be talked about because there's just something special about how it manages to match up with the art style. When you look at a game, you get a feeling, and then each unique location you go to depicts a different feeling, and the music has to match up with that. And this game does a wondrous job of picking tracks that sort of fit the feel, where maybe you're in almost the forests of feudal Japan, or at least it kind of looks like that. And they do a great job selecting music that can fit that theme versus when you're up in the rampart, and it feels more gladiatorial. It's really, really cool. It's a work of art in many ways. Also, I was watching Easy Ally's review of the game, and I think they put it in a really good way. That there's not this main story, but there's enough intrigue and world building going on as each run progresses and you see new things. The story develops and keeps you pulling along. It's crafted in intelligent way where you'll meet someone and then they'll end up being dead a couple of runs later, and you'll think, what just happened in between there? What's happening on this island we're on? Why am I suddenly brought to life by a glob of green boogers? Like, you know, there's just a lot of questions you have when playing this game, and it keeps you intrigued, like Easy Ally said, to keep pulling you along the way. However, I'd like to tack on to their statement and say that I feel that this game's storytelling is very reminiscent of Dark Souls in a way where you have to do the digging yourself, put the pieces together, really pay attention to your surroundings, and it will lead to those moments of, aha, I get it now, when you see something and it all just meshes together. And that's coming from someone who's not a huge fan of the style of Dark Souls storytelling, where I feel like sometimes it can be thinly veiled. Just my opinion on the matter, but all I gotta say, man, is Dead Cells is a game that really deserves you to give it a look, because I feel like in this controversy, yes, there is some benefit to that extra PR, but I also feel like this game's often used as a conversation piece for every single time. It's like Filip Miucin and his Dead Cells review, and we're talking about what stupid shit Filip did. Which, once again, I need to emphasize, Filip got exactly what was coming to him. I just feel it's unfair for a game to get wrapped up in this type of bullshit when they simply couldn't predict something like this ever happening in a million years. Where I think the conversation could be brought to a different level, where we could say, here's a game that got stuck in a really unfortunate situation. Let's throw some support that way. Anyway, those are just my thoughts on Dead Cell. I'm a couple of hours in right now, and it's really breaking my spirit in some ways, but it's a really, really fun time. And like I said, if you got a Switch, this is one you should definitely look into picking up. So let me know, have you picked up Dead Cells? Fire away in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that, as it fuels all the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.